What's up? Okay, so this episode, I don't know how I'm gonna watch it because it makes me cringe. So even though like the progression, how do I say? This episode started because I wanted for the first time to give a character like a sense of more identity. So I wanted it to start out with the main guy being like like the baddie being by himself and having his own little commentary and having his own time. I really wanted him to sort of have his moment, like it was important for me to switch things up a little. Like I'm not I don't want to be like the be all and end all of the series. I want the characters to have a little bit more flow and a little bit more say and a little bit more characterization. I'm sort of just like using this episode to explore what that could mean for me. And yeah, I think this episode just exhausted me. Like, it was really good fun, and I'm really glad I did it. But I don't know if I'd do it again exactly in this way because when I look back on it, I really do, I really do just cringe, and I can't tell why. And I think it's because I'm starting to get to this sort of like thing here where it looks really awkward to me and it looks like, oh, can I do this alone? Like, do I need a whole team around me at this point? Because it would be helpful to have people doing the audio and doing like more camera work. Just having more cameras, would might have been helpful, or having a team there. And instead, it's just me and my sister is helping me on this episode, so really grateful for that. She's the one that drove me there. I knew I wanted to do Magpie Mine, so a lot of the writing is in this series. Oh, one moment. Oh, the headset I'm using kind of hurts my ears. Um, the way I'm writing in this series is I'm looking for places first. So the first thing I do is research places across the country for this series anyway. I'm not saying I'm going to do it again like this, but I research places across the country that really stand out to me as being a place that I could play in if I was a child, which is just essentially, what I'd be doing anyway. So when I was a kid, um, my dad fixed cars on a farm, and after school we'd go straight to his workplace and we were just allowed to play around. And I think this is like the fundamental thing that probably made this series what it is that when I was playing around on the farm with my sister, we'd find like dead cats and like mice, and we'd find hay bales, and we'd find like grains and of like huge grain deposits, and just we'd just play around in the farm. We'd find like different little secret areas where there'd be like dust and spiders that were collecting over like um old farm equipment that hadn't been touched for like what looked like 50 years. And we were playing in and amongst this. I know how dangerous this all sounds, and it probably was, but it was integral because we were making up stories and we were running around and we were like having fun. And honestly, this episode was just like that. And some days when it was just me and it wasn't my sister, I'd just pretend to be Lara Croft and run around the farm. And it really is probably that actually brought this series into what it is today, because this is just my sister and I mucking around, being in different characters and exploring a piece of land that is derelict. Essentially, it's an old mining site. I mean, it probably it's very safe, but there's probably potential for danger. I don't know, but it I love that Cyberman walk there. Sorry, I kept that shot in because it looked funny. It was just me walking looking like a Cyberman. Can we get that again real quick? I just want to show you. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this motherfucker. Look at her go. Wait. Come on. There. That shot. I'm a Cyberman. So, this was a cow actually disturbing me, by the way. They freak me out. Although you couldn't hear their moo properly, so I gave them like a moo that I found online, a moo sound. But it really was just sort of going back to this childhood feeling of like, oh, this is what this place could be. And so when I'm location searching, I'm looking at these places online and I'm thinking, like, what does this give me, this sort of like feeling of wanting to play around in it? Because that's exactly the vibe that I'm going for from this episode onwards. Is like, I just want to play. I just want to play around and have fun. Again, the show is about making mistakes, and obviously, like, if I were to do the show now, I think I'd do it very differently. I think this is one of the last episodes that I used one of the bigger cameras. I just could not do it anymore. I just wanted to use a small digital vlogging camera, which you see in the episode, because it just tracks and focuses so much better independently, and so I could use it on my own. I'm not very good with cameras. I'm not like a camera person. But yeah, I mean, also it's just speaking of, every time I get a shot here, you're not really seeing many people, but you have to trust me when I say there are people around, and it's deadly embarrassing. One of the reasons why I called this the middle of nowhere is because I had done about a year or so more, I think a year and a half before this, going and working in cities. So I was sort of used to standing around in a city, asking strangers questions, going up to them really timidly, like, "Oh, could I bother you for an interview?" Feeling just like really dickish about it and just hating it. I hated talking to strangers, which is why I made those videos, to push myself. And then I also hated shooting out in public because people were staring and I'm on my own talking to a camera, and I'm just thinking, God, everyone thinks I'm some sort of influencer. And I really hated that, because what I felt like I was doing was not influencing. It was just like making a documentary. And not there's nothing bad with being an influencer, but I didn't want to be taken that way. And when you get loads of people staring at you on the street, and you just think, oh, they probably think I'm an influencer, I just got really sad and I hated it. It was the most cringe thing. And you still, sometimes when you're out in these places in the middle of nowhere, you still get people. I mean, I'm dressed like a freaking 1700s woman here. Like, people stare at you, and I really, really, really hate it. Like, it was genuinely like awful. By the way, this is like the first time I've learned a script for this, so that's exciting. It was an exciting step up where I was like, okay, I'm ready to learn scripts for this now, word to word, word by word. I'm gonna get this right. So super excited to have a bit of emotion here as well, but also realizing in the edit that the emotions made it really awkward, because it kind of cut the show up a little bit. It made it like a bit sort of like too much, if you will. I have two feelings about this. I have the feeling of like, okay, one side of my brain's like, okay, it's fine, like, because the widows went through something horrific, and I noticed in all of the writing, people were referring to them as these mystical women who were witches and painting them in a negative light. But when I read the story, I was like, no, these are women who lost their husbands. Of course they cursed the land and anyone who worked in it, because their husbands died during this horrific incident of, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, of course they're upset. And then all of the literature seems to paint them in a way where they're like, ooh, these weird women. Why would they do that? Why they're such weirdos? Why they're just witches or something? And it's like, bro. So I wanted to give them a story here, and I think that's my my anger on behalf of them coming through in this documentary, which I think, I don't know if it worked, but I really wanted them to have a say, which is why I really made her angry. I really made her pissed off. And I actually still stand by that, but there is still a part of me that saw the edit and I was like, damn, like, I don't know if this works, if it flows, because I don't know. I don't know if it flows because the show is so whimsical, and she's not. Like, she's this character in the middle of it all whose husband has died. So it was a really big conflict for me for keeping true to these women who were deeply affected, but also like trying to keep to this show's whimsicalness. And so in the end I just wanted to go against history, and I just wanted to give her a chance. And I don't know if I'll ever do this again. It's a bit of a strange episode. I definitely think it's one of the ones that stand out a little bit for me because it's so odd. But it's one of those where I'm like, okay, I really actually want to do something about this. And for the first time, I've written in this time machine. I mean, this is the first time that we see Elise use a portal. And so I thought, for this, just before this episode, I was just thinking like, oh, okay, so I keep saying that I go far away and back in time, but how is that happening? And it's from here that I realized that with my clothes, with the things I say, with trying to step into this like main character in the show, I'm realizing slowly that I'm building a lore. I'm building a lore for the whole show, and I really want the presenter to have more like power. And so this was quite symbolic for me to be able to sort of give this young woman her power back, but just like be excited about where the show was going, because I didn't really know where or how. This is before I got acne. Oh my god, I look really good. Yeah, I got acne halfway through the series. Yeah, and you can also tell that I'm starting to figure things out a little bit more. Like, oh, this is where I want the show to go, and this is not something that's come out of nowhere. Actually, I think it's all coming from my subconscious, where, I've grown up and watched. I like memes, and I've grown up, I've lived, I'm part of the generation who has lived off of memes and horrible histories and YouTube and the internet and Facebook and Instagram. Never Twitter. I never really had Twitter. But I am that generation, and I wanted a documentary that actually reflected that part of me, where I'm not only accepting the fact that I'm making mistakes, I suck at this Derbyshire accent, and I know I do, but I'm also gracing my own identity and allowing myself to have fun and putting those memes in because I think they're funny, and I want to address things, and also putting like horrible histories in because there's a lot of love for them there. There's a lot of love for the that group of people, and yeah. So anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Bye.